2022 was pretty stacked for cool indie games, like really stacked. We had a huge selection of awesome games to choose from, ranging in different genres. We had stuff like Stray, where you go around as a silly little cat being a delinquent. Like a cat. Then we had stuff like Sifu, a really punishing action game with an incredibly cool mechanic, where you age when you die. Then there's Signalis, an indie game I haven't actually played, but I've heard it's a pretty banging game, so I'll just take people's word for it. Now, this is only a few examples of all the indie games that came out in 2022, and guess what won the award for the best indie game out of all of these? The cat game. I honestly don't know why. Listen, I like cats as much as the next guy, but this shouldn't have won best indie game in my opinion. Well, in my eyes, there is an indie game that stands out above all of them, and it's personally my favorite indie game of 2022, and that game is... Tunic is easily the best indie game to come out in 2022, and it's not because of the beautiful art style, it's not because of the gorgeous music, and it's not because of the gameplay itself. It's because Tunic tells you absolutely nothing. In a time where almost every game holds your hand with the tightest grip possible, guiding you through the way the developers want you to experience their game, playing something as guideless as Tunic is such a breath of fresh air. Tunic respects us, it knows we aren't stupid, and it shows and teaches us its mechanics in dynamic ways. Straight out of the gate, you are just thrown into this gorgeous world, and you are told absolutely nothing. You aren't even told how to move the little fox fella, which, by the way, thank fucking god, can we normalize not having a tutorial for something as basic as how to move a character? A brilliant example of the way Tunic teaches the player mechanics is almost straight after you start the game. You first encounter this enemy, and it's obvious it's an enemy because of how the little fella beelines straight towards you. Oh, and the lock-on button above it. There's absolutely no way to fight this, and it's obvious because, you know, the little fox you're controlling has no weaponry. So the smartest thing to do is explore the surroundings to find something to defend yourself. It's obvious where a point of interest is because you actually passed this doorway with 2 torches outside of it. It looked important, but again, the game doesn't tell you that this room contains a little stick that you can use to defend yourself. So you can't just fuck off with little to no way to defend yourself. Although you probably won't get too far. Now, I haven't been completely honest with you all right now. There is a feature in Tunic that does actually give hints to the player and guide them a bit, and it's with these abandoned pages of the game's manual. Do you guys remember game manuals? I miss them so much. The manuals you find can teach you all kinds of things, from stuff like what certain items do to the map layout of a dungeon you're exploring. Something awesome about it though is some of the pages have little drawings and sketches on them, as if the game you got was second-hand. See, this isn't very accurate because whenever I got a second-hand game back on the PS2, the manual would just be covered in Tunic takes quite a few mechanics and inspirations from other games too, the biggest one being top-down Zelda games, especially the original Zelda. If you played the original Zelda game, you will know how little the game tells you. It's just, well, an adventure that you set yourself out on. Tunic even has little dungeons like Zelda games, albeit it's not as expansive, but I don't know man, it's got a sewer dungeon, so that's a big old plus in my book. We love sewer areas on the Proxidist channel. It also takes quite a few inspirations and ideas from Dark Souls, which I know is a cliche thing to say, and no, it's not just because the game is quite challenging. It's actually really challenging. Whenever you die in the game, your money is left at the spot where you die, and you only have one chance to get it back, very much like how souls work in Dark Souls, or how blood echoes work in Bloodborne, or how runes work in Elden Ring. You get the idea. I feel like I need to rinse out my mouth comparing a game to Dark Souls. Thanks, journalist. Oh yeah, one of the starting objectives in Tunic is to ring 2 bells to open a gate. I don't know any other game that has the same objective at the start of it. No idea whatsoever. Tunic's presentation is another standout. Like, I mean, do I really need to say anything? Just look at it. It has such a stunning art style. You explore so many tranquil places with outstanding lighting effects that are just so pleasant to stare at. So many parts of this game are screenshot worthy. Oh, and let's not forget the soundtrack. It's incredibly somber and tranquil, and it fits the tone and atmosphere of the game incredibly well. So before I end this video, take a listen to some of these tracks. Tunic is easily my favorite indie game of 2022, and I feel like it deserved way more recognition. I deliberately didn't spoil anything past the first hour and a bit of the game, because I feel like this is a game you definitely need to experience for yourself, so yeah, what are you waiting for? Buy the best indie game of 2022!